Hi, this is Dana Taylor. The following material was channeled through Jeff Michaels on September 22nd, 2020, by the collective intelligence known as Onereon. Jeff has published several books with Onereon messages. Please look in the description for links for more information. Onereon Channel with Jeff Michaels, September 22nd, 2020. Part 1. We say, as above, so below. We greet you in these opening energies. We note the consistency, not simply in our response to the opening phrase, but to the subtle doubts that we may not arrive. It is a peculiar thing, this type of communication, and we acknowledge the seeming peculiarity of it. But we also point out that it is much more common, at least commonly available, than the human will take advantage of. We attempt to describe this for our voice because it does impinge upon his mind. Where are we, is his question, as if we are placed somewhere or have gone somewhere and must return. It is a bit like asking, where is the light of the sun while you are on planet Earth? Even in the shadow, the light of the sun exists, and you can say it is darkest at certain points of time, yet there is still light. Visible vibration of that light from the sun, even when the Earth is turned away from the sun. It is good to ponder these things. It is also good to understand that there is no real clear way to describe our level of existence. We would say, as an illustration, when sunlight enters the atmosphere of Earth and is filtered through all the particle matter, and then through some certain formations of glass, a prism, the sunlight separates out so that you can see colors, reds and greens and blues and yellows. If you walk back out into the sunlight, those colors are still there, but you do not see them except as through one side of the separating glass. You exist on the level of the separating glass where the colors are individualized. We, Onereon, exist where all the colors are combined, and yet in our own way, we exist on the opposite side of a different separating glass, and it gets greater from there through additional levels of existence. We emanate our existence from a higher point of vibrational reality. It is difficult to put into this 3 or 4-dimensional commentary. To quantify or even think about it for the human, the member of the family human, is not a thing that is possible. The perceptive ability of the family human is not fully capable of comprehending these things. We, in the higher vibrational realms, the spiritual realms, are also incapable of fully comprehending those at a higher vibrational level than we, as we assume it continues higher than that. Manifold vibrations increase exponentially within the universe, and the sum becomes greater than the parts. Our arrival has less to do with location and more to do with willingness of the human to acknowledge continual presence. But our continual presence is not a dominating presence. It is not a filling presence, not an over-presence, and certainly it is not some level of omnipotence. Thus, our limited ability to affect things upon the planet, and also our limited ability to engage in predictive activity. Part 2. We have said that within the next 100 years you will not recognize this planet. That can cause fear and has. What you are witnessing now, in the current of events, is the process of changing a yang energy into something else. In the same way that, for example, the moon processes sunlight energy into moonlight energy, and yet it is still yang energy. Within 100 years, The society of the family human will be fundamentally different. It is, in a sense, an evolutionary process. It is, in a sense, a traumatic reduction of human life on the planet. It is also, in a sense, a forced yang-induced coalescence of consciousness, of many smaller consciousness, into a society of greater perception and greater reception of the holistic nature of the universe, the single existence of all things, the holistic aspect of life and living. If we were to compare this transformation of human society to something, we would offer this illustration. Imagine you are on a raft on a river that begins calm and wide and slow, but enters into a valley, a place of high cliffs and rocky bottoms, and the flow of water intensifies, and the raft becomes trapped in the current. And all there is to do is keep the raft headed in as many non-threatening directions of the river as possible. And yet you do not know what is ahead, or even if the river continues above ground. This, then, is where the energy of things in this location is at this moment. It is turbulent, it is wild, it is dangerous. And just about all one can do is hang on. From our perspective, the higher vibrational spiritual realm and the beings that live here, we have seen this potential intensification for some time, and we tell you now, the river ahead does not disappear under the ground. There is a conclusion to this passage, but it is a passage, and it is a difficult passage. As a riverbed narrows and rapids form, understand that there is not more water, only that it becomes intensified. In like manner, there is not more energy now in your space-time of existence. It has just become very intense. Choices that will be made soon by the very individualistic society that you exist within, the country that you exist within, will not alter the passage through this energy. It will not make it easier. It will not be making it more difficult. We are not saying that all choices are the same or equal. We are saying that there are some choices that would be more spiritual than other choices. But the end result will be a transformation of the yang energies into something softer. And you will likely not see the completion of that in your current human form. You have been on the planet before. You, here tonight, know this with a certainty. You know that you have been a consciousness, or a portion of a consciousness, and you know that you have experienced difficulties, and you know that you have lived, and you know that you have died in this physical realm. The matter that coalesced around your consciousness once was bright and active, and then was weak and failing. And then you transferred your consciousness from the physical nature, the coalescence of humanity, back into a higher realm. Part 3. What can you do at this point of your lives that will benefit the planet, that will benefit others? We will say this. Do not think in terms of benefiting the planet. Do not think in terms of benefiting others. That is a judgment. That is a searching for the right or wrong thing. It is based on an assumption that you are wiser in your perception than Gaia and her vast experience. You are tired. Your energies have been stretched. Your energies have been struck by yang energy. And you have an opportunity to cool down, in a sense, to exist in a night, a dormant period. And we do not say that this is the end of your life and that you will be dormant from now until your passing. We do not say that. What we say is rest. Find moments of rest. Nourish yourselves. Exist within your own spheres of energy. Do not seek to push those spheres of energy outward. This will only weaken you. When other spheres of energy approach you, welcome them. Coalesce with those spheres of energy. Become one with those spheres of energy. Support them and do not give of yourselves beyond your sphere of energy. This is for you here tonight. As individuals, but so many others could benefit from hearing these things. The noise of the society of humanity is deafening. It is intense. Psychic noise impinges upon your consciousness and perception to such an extent that you are deafened in many ways. Imagine all of the empaths on the planet who are seeking to do something about all of the other noises. From our point of view in the realm of spirit, we have receded from the planet Earth. The cacophony is not productive. We have said before that the nature of spirituality on the planet is lessening. Do you see how that is a true statement? This does not mean that the nature of spirituality and spiritual energies have lessened in the greater scheme of things. They will return, in much the same way that plants go dormant in severe weathers and return when more favorable conditions are available. Now, what happens to a plant is that growth and nutrition and light is taken away from it in a winter setting on the planet Earth, and thus it goes into dormancy. The plants know from eons of existence, from threads of energy going back to single cellular communications. They know this, and they know what to do in these situations. It is not a consciousness as in you know how to build a house or drive a car or cook a meal. Those are actions, yang activities. They know because it is the way it is. Flowers do not bloom in the winter because it is a useless expression of the plant's energy. You can imagine in some manner that you are in a winter, that the earth, the society of the earth, is in a winter. You close the doors, you close the windows, you light the fire. You do not curse the darkness. You merely hibernate until the winter is over, at which point of time you have been thinking and meditating and pondering what growth to encourage at the end of the winter, and you have been rationing your resources and energies so that you can survive the winter, and the winter may be short or it may be long. We are aware of our illustrations mixing inaccurately. The illustration of the rapid river is about the time period you are in. The illustration of the winter in hibernation is more about what you as an individual can accomplish at this point in time. It is a pulling in of things. You may have already been doing this. You have an intuition much like the plant has an intuition. Part 4. But there is an urgency of energy that is being emanated around the globe, and it is a false urgency. As we have said, something greater will get their attention. Now, the interpretation of our voice is necessarily one of story. Something else, some activity, some event will get their attention. No, something else will get their attention. It will be their own selves, their own fading, their own dissemination, disintegration, discontinuity, disperceptions. They will fade, and we do not speak of any group. We speak of humanity. As humanity fades, they will face the reasons for their fading, the reasons for their lack of cohesiveness. It is a combination of natural things. The planet Earth has its own ways of fighting infections, much as the ways your bodies have of fighting the infection. Sometimes it takes a severe course. But there is a wisdom within the planet Earth. In the same way as a plant does not expend energy growing a flower in the wintertime, the planet Earth does not expend energy that will not be fruitful. Gaia prunes herself. She grooms herself. And thus you see this happening. And the interesting thing about it is it uses the very issue to create the energies that will solve the issue. Let us be clearer. Too many human life forms in simultaneous existence create limits on other life forms and expressions on the planet. Too much yang energy is seeking to control that which is a yin energy. The world itself is naturally beautiful, and the human can see that and say, it is beautiful by the coast. And yet when they see that the first thing they do is remove all possibility of the beauty of the coast. The same is true of forest and mountain ranges and other areas of beauty. What happens to areas that are beautiful? They are covered with artificial dwellings. Human society has created a streamlined existence, allowing for more and easier growth. More food and supplies are readily available for less effort. This gives opportunity for a human population explosion. You are familiar with algae blooms on the surface of the water. When conditions are favorable, temperature and energy for growth, there is a bloom. That in itself is a dangerous thing for life, except for the algae which is enjoying a bloom. But the algae bloom will eventually succumb to its own weight, and the ocean will naturally separate it and return it to its elements over time. The bloom of humanity has caused higher levels of temperatures, higher levels of gases, higher levels of potentials for disasters of storms, fires, winds, and yet none of these things are unusual for the planet. The fires, the storms, and the winds have all existed in the past. It is only perceptibly a negative event when viewed as affecting the great mass of humanity that is infecting a particular area. The weight of the human bloom will eventually cause a collapse of sorts, and Gaia will naturally return things to positions of balance. Like the algae, there is no destruction, only reduction. It is not right, it is not wrong. There are only consequences to these things, and now we have entered fully into an era of transformation of yang energy into something less dominating. It is yin energy that will do this, and yin energy is not passive. Yin energy only allows for the yang energy to burn itself out. You see this with viruses. They have to burn themselves out, and not all life survives this. You see that with forests. They will burn themselves out. Not all life survives that. Yet the energy of those lives, you know this from your perceptive abilities and your empathic nature and your openness to the aspects of energy. The energy of the forests and the energy of the humans and the energy of the water and of the storms, you see, it is all simply energy. And it does not perish. It does not end, it merely transforms. The transformational nature of the times you live in is a difficult one. Energy is perpetually transforming. Part 5. And there is a question asked. Did we choose this? No, you do not get to choose. That is not a thing that happens. You are not that important. You see, and yet the human wants to believe that they as an individual are important, and the human as an individual wants to believe that there is some purpose that they might achieve. That is not the way nature teaches you. Nature shows you an abundance of bees, and if one bee dies, then it is one bee, and the others will find the flowers and pollinate and continue a cycle of life and living. And all the bees will eventually die, and their little bee bodies will go back to the elements. But they will have accomplished what they are here for, and they have filtered one form of life, the pollen from the flower, which now also dies. And they filtered that pollen into an energetic substance, which goes back to the hive and becomes a nutritious substance for other bees, and also nourishment for whoever finds the hive, the honey. And it is all transference of energy. There is much around you that counsels you to be afraid, to fear the future, to worry about what is ahead. It's a good thing to do that sometimes, to examine it, to recognize this as fear and ask, why do I feel that now? What is this telling me? And then within yourself, transform that energy. Your generation and the generations that existed just prior and after were adept at self-examination, at looking at where you had been and where you are going to. That is, in your perceptive ability, a right way of being, self-examining of all history and self-examining the potentials of the future. The generations coming up are not self-examining. They are survivalist. They are more immediate. They are of a lower vibration in a sense that they are not looking for a higher vibration. In this way, they are eliminating many of the cross vibrations. They are purifying the signal. They are fine-tuning themselves. In this way, they are changing the course of humanity. This, then, is the nature of humanity in the future. A lessening of numbers, but a lesson as in they learned lessons and integrated it within their zeitgeist, their popular nature of perception, so that they will not flower and bloom in the winter. They will fold back in upon themselves and go dormant. And this is the lesson that is being taught now, the lesson of dormancy for the entire planet. It is a difficult lesson for many to learn because they are acting out of the imbalanced yang energies that have been in existence for much longer than you understand and have been being filtered more directly and with more purpose. Onereon's nature is communicative, and we are preparing to communicate at a higher level of vibration with many of the consciousnesses that will be entering the spiritual realm in the next 100 years, and that will then be returned as clarified and purified consciousnesses to the planet in a more coordinated manner. But this activity is not restricted to just the planet Earth. This yang energy is being filtered in other ways, in other dimensionalities, because as we balance this energy in other dimensionalities, it filters down to the gravity realm, the physical realm. So in a sense, you are the last to benefit from the activity that is being accomplished in a galactic fashion. So the need to do, accomplish, or be something, there is little energy for that. Allow yourself to relax for the time being. Rest. Be prepared for something new in the future. Help others to prepare for something new in the future, too. Part 6. That is all any of this is. Transference of energy from one thing to another thing. And perceiving it and looking for the balance and looking for the interaction and being aware of the other side of the filtering glass, the separating glass, is a good thing. But it is not your purpose to be on the other side of the separating glass. It is your purpose to be on the side of the separated light, and to examine yourselves as red and blue and green, and to be content with that. You see, that is what you call Zen. That is what you call peace. There are ways to enjoy yourself. There are ways to laugh, to be at peace. There are ways to rest. There are ways to take care of things that need to be taken care of and then rest. There are ways to be silent. There are ways to silence the noise from outside. You have so many tools. There are so many avenues with the ability to transform energy. We advise you to re-examine some of these tools, these transformative things. But what worked 20 years ago, 20 cycles of moon and sun, solar cycling and lunar cycling, is of necessity different. In the same way that walking through the woods on a spring day is different than walking through the woods on a winter day. Same woods, different climate. And even in the spring, storms come up. Take shelter. Storms pass. Understand then that the yang energies will seek to purposely grow and build. The yin energies will seek to support that which is simply allow things to occur naturally. In balance, yang supports yin and yin guides yang. It is a natural state of the universe, and it is a state that is returning after a long period of imbalance. It would not be in error to say that being in balance is also to be in a state of love. This then is the original purpose of source energy, to explore all possibilities and enhance itself with diversity and experience. The points of energy that create this state are notable in the moments when we are enjoying ourselves, that is, being in joy. It is this state that allows for the feeling of peace. When these two qualities are present, the sense of love is near. A peaceful nature is one that allows for forward movement. It allows for expansion, for variance, for creativity. And those are the things that we seek from my limited perspective. We seek this aspect of existence as a kitten or a puppy seeks play, as a child seeks play. We too seek this, even those of us existing in the spiritual realm. We play, and in playing we learn, and in playing those are the lessons. And sometimes the lessons are not a pleasant lesson. We stumble and fall in a certain sense. You are being prepared and preparing for this transformation from imbalance to a state of peace and love. For everything to come together in peace, it is a joyful thing. End of transmission.